Good morning, everybody. This is a continuation of the Massey Ferguson 165 non-multipower PTO pump or 3-point lift pump. And as the last video, I cleaned and inspected everything. Everything looked pretty good. I had some O-rings. I also ordered new piston rings. The old ones probably had like a 20 thousandths end gap. In here, well, you can see the old rings. Yeah, they were worn, but the new ones seem to have about maybe 10 thousandths. And the relief valve looked kind of weird, so I got a new one. It was like maybe $50 for the parts from a place called Stevens, I think, in Louisiana. They seem to have good parts there. They'll sell you the parts for the pump. A lot of places want to sell you a whole rebuild pump or a whole kit, and some of the kits, the parts aren't really machined, like I said earlier, the way they should be. So I'm staying with the British parts, which are still good. So the check valves were cleaned, piston rings installed. The bore still had hone marks on it, so at one time maybe somebody replaced this, I'm not sure. This is a high output, heavier duty pump. It has a 3 1/4 inch lift piston, so it's for like a state highway tractor. Also, it has this arrangement here. The oil filter goes on here, but there's an open hole here with no filter. And I'm saying, why would they have a filter and let the oil be drawn in unfiltered? I think the idea is when it's ice cold out in the winter and you start it, if it's heavier oil, it instantly primes the system till it warms up, then it filters it on a bypass situation rather than starve the pump for oil on a cold day. Good idea, actually. Like I said, there was no metal or debris in this transmission. It was very clean. So here you have your jiggler assembly on the control valve. Down here you can see there's a small eccentric, continually jiggles this up and down, so this doesn't stick, your controller. If it gets gummy, it doesn't stick, so you have perfect controlled rather than hanging up. Pretty good idea. It's like an eccentric unit that runs off this lip on the eccentric on the cam. So it's, important to put this in the right direction. I believe, if I remember, it was the second one in, and this is the first one. I marked everything. So I'm going to insert this assembly into it. Then I'm going to try to rotate it on the bench here, make sure it's all free. But it's pretty easy. I rebuilt like the Kawasaki and Rex Roth pumps and track hose and hydrostatic pumps. They're even not that bad if you're really careful and clean and you have micrometers and a little basic machine knowledge. You can rebuild these. Even a good shade tree mechanic could rebuild one if you really set up a clean area. And I have a small lathe and milling machine, but you don't really need all that if you don't have the money. The main thing is to be very clean and take pictures of it before you take it apart. It helps you put it back together. I noticed there's some chamfers here. This is flat machined, and these have chamfers. It's the only thing I can see that's not symmetrical, but I had marked this to be, I guess it lightly touches here when it's running. It keeps this from moving around too much. But I'm going to throw this together, and it shouldn't be too bad. And like I said, the parts were these, the original British parts. Even has a marking inspected, very high quality, and I'd rather keep them than buy aftermarket stuff from overseas that's questionable. A lot of that stuff they try to sell for Caterpillar and Komatsu or construction equipment. I had bad experiences with this. Aftermarket stuff seems to be a problem. Even in the auto parts industry, half the stuff is from other countries, and it's not really what it should be. Although some of it's gotten better, I gotta say. Anyway, I'm going to put this thing back together. And oh, one quick thing. This roller has to come off before you lift the cover off. On the fingers in the on the dash pot. If you see, there's a dash pot for your speed controlled. It goes under this, so this will pop off and fall down. And you really have to spread these apart. Take this roller off. This is where the actual control of the 3 points happening on a little adjustable button you can adjust through a window. And you have to take that off, and this whole thing comes out. You clean it. I have WD-40 and carburetor cleaner. Make sure it's nice. There's a little pin assembly, really nicely machined with a little clip down here. And let's take a look at the fingers. I found a mystery spring that is out here. I'll show you guys. I almost missed this. Luckily, I found this was a little tricky getting on. What I found out is you put this on the piston assembly and then lower the piston assembly in and insert these two rods and springs. Otherwise, there's really no way to get this thing on because you can't get to the bolt that's behind here. They say in the book they want like barely 5 thousandths clearance when you pull on this between this and this is the dash pot for the how fast or slow this reacts. And there's a small, that's your speed adjustment, fast or slow drop. I got a tape so it doesn't fall out. But way down in there, if this light's good, boy, you'll see a spring that holds this lever to a thing. Let me see if I can turn it without falling. Anyway, down in there there's a small vertical spring. It's very small that holds the backlash out of these. That was off. It fell off and was way down in the bottom of the transmission. Might have been off for years, I don't know. So I put that back on, and now it seems like everything's okay. I went through the adjustments in the, I think it's an IT book, a Tractor Supply. It's a cheap book. It's like 20, 30 bucks. And you adjust your backlash with this assembly here. Now that roller I told you has to be removed. Has to go, see this pin here? It's got to go over this, and the roller actually touches this machine thumb wheel. And what you do is on the side cover you adjust this thumb wheel to get all the play so there's no backlash. Okay, so that has to come off and then get back on down in the hole, which is probably going to be fun. We'll try to get that on without, we'll just try it and see what happens. But I would check all the adjustments. Like I said, this is a 3.5 inch, I'm sorry, 3.25 inch big piston. And there's the rod. Now, some of the newer pistons have a third piston ring that's like an O-ring or plastic, so it slows down and stops the leak down. I didn't put that in, I put the standard one in. And this is a heavy lift cover. I think there's a difference in thickness on the older tractors. This was thin and this is a very thick one. It's made to lift large municipal mowers and things like that, heavy stuff. So we'll see what happens. So I honed the cylinder out, had like 20, not even 20 thousandths end gap on the two rings that are in there. And we'll see. I'm not going to use this tractor for like super heavy stuff. It's just like a utility tractor for doing various things. So, and we got let's see, sitting out here. It's like Scotland here with the fog and rain. So I got Scottish blood. So I guess it's I know it's like I just came back from Florida, so I came to this. At least it's not snowing yet. But anyway, we'll try to go from there, and I'll make a follow-up video on adjustments and see if it works. So I'll see you guys next time. Okay, good luck and have fun. All right, bye-bye.